Order at 5:02 p.m. Good afternoon, everyone. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilmember August. Councilmember Furman. Councilmember Denver. Deputy Mayor Edgerton. And Mayor Mann.
Here.
Thank you.
Seeing as this is a special meeting agenda for the purpose of discussing a general public works workshop, do we have any public commenters on the agenda item only?
We do. We even have one that's just a little off agenda item, but it's just a thank you. So I have them also available.
Please proceed.
Mr. Ben Adams.
Thank you, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
We accept all thank yous.
Yeah, apparently. How are you?
All right, Mayor Mann, Council, City staff, my favorite City Clerk, Mrs. Bennett, distinguished guests and fellow citizens. As we continue to improve and extend and expand our infrastructure within the city, as many of you know, I'm an avid bicyclist, and I would just please ask that we include multimodal transportation corridors. So if you want to walk or bicycle, even in this city, ride your horse to Menifee Marketplace or wherever you would like to go, that we have that available. It would be great to walk from my house just south of Mount San Jacinto over the Holland Overpass, enjoy my time spending my money that I'd probably spend in Marietta and Menifee so I can eat, hopefully see a movie soon, and then walk back. It would be great. Also, as we continue to improve infrastructure, especially around the 215 corridor, that we give some nod to aesthetics. Certainly places like Pasadena, Redlands, Claremont have all done a great job to varying degrees of making infrastructure look nice and like it fits in a town. Certainly former councilwoman, Kenzie, was passionate about the aesthetic along the 215 corridor, that it said this is Menifee, this is a community that you want to live in, you want to do business in, even probably base your business here. And so as we continue to build things out, infrastructure doesn't have to look ugly. Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Louis Macy.
Good afternoon, Mayor Mann and City Council. I am Louis Macy, and my residence is at 25597 Kayla Court, Menifee. I have a couple questions, and that is that are there any improvement schedules for Valley Boulevard? This is a major corridor that would connect Menifee with Paris and on to the north. Also, are there any east-west corridors being planned to connect North Menifee with Getz Road? And finally, I would like to ask if are there any plans to construct or improve the traffic center that is being planned up in Highway 74 and 215, and also down by Pierre Road, west of I-215. Thank you for your consideration. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Mazy. Next speaker, please.
Pam Bishop.
Mr. Mayor and everyone else, I'm a 30-year resident of the area, and I was on the first not planning commission, but planning for the general plan for Menifee Valley. At that time, we were talking about the intersection of Marietta and Holland. For those of you that are familiar with that part of our city, Holland does not come in at the same place. It is adjacent about a couple hundred feet, I would think. 15, 20 years ago, the Middletons that owned the property that needs to be acquired to straighten that intersection out moved, were ready to sell, and the city, or excuse me, the county at that time didn't move. Now we have almost complete build out of the Pardee development. When that is finished, and that's not that far in the future, Holland Road is going to be a major thoroughfare. And that intersection is going to not only be tangled, a parking lot, it's going to be dangerous. I live not far from there, and already because of the people going to and from the school, they are using our roads, our small dirt roads, as their access to get to that school, and they are speeding, and they are tearing up our roads. And we already have a dangerous situation there. So I do hope that, I appreciate the big projects, but this is an important one, and this is a safety issue, and I hope you will consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. Next speaker, please.
Ruth Goulet.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ruth Goulet from Sun City, and I'm the one who's not on the agenda. Last Saturday, the city of Menifee, in conjunction with Habitat for Humanity and the LDS, put on one of the most impressive work projects I have seen in an awfully long time. And what I really want to tell you guys is, we saw you out there working, and we saw progress. And if ever I have seen partnership between this city of Menifee and its component citizens, that was it. I thank you, and most of us thank you. You've done good work.
Thank you, Ms. Goulet, for those comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any additional speakers?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, before I punt it to you, I just want to make a quick statement about what you're going to get a presentation on this evening from staff is some major infrastructure projects that are at the forefront of all of our minds, and to the extent that they're prioritized, we'll see how this presentation goes. This is a report from the staff to the council for the benefit of the public, of course. And there are many projects, there are many things that are going to be beyond the scope of what's presented here. This is a 5-year capital improvement plan. So the questions about Holland Road at Murrieta and the 3-way stop there and how it's, well, Tom would use the term cattywampus. And those types of things, or a potential bridge over Murrieta Road, or bridging over Normandy, several other infrastructure projects. Those are in a window just outside of the 5-year plan. I mean, they're on our list. And so what we're going to be doing is capitalizing on funding sources that are already there. Staff's going to make this presentation to us. And when we look at things beyond the 5-year window, I think after this presentation this evening, you'll say, okay, I understand. I get it. And we will be working on these other things along the way. What we're going to be presented with tonight is a small piece of the total pie. And so with that said, Mr. Johnson, would you please proceed?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Members of the council, today marks the beginning of an exciting adventure in the next chapter of the development of our young city. Staff is very excited at the presentation that you're going to see today. We've worked very long and hard about it. We believe that we're light years ahead of where we were. Our goal, in conjunction with the executive consultant that you've hired, Sean Nelson, was to not only talk about where we are now, but where we want to go, and then put a plan together to how we're going to get there. Menifee's population at incorporation was some 65,000 people. As of May 1st, 2012, the Department of Finance informed us that the population had reached 80,589. We have turned our finance director into a ninja and got early readings from the Department of Finance, which will not come out till tomorrow, unconfirmed reports on the population of Menifee for May 1st, 2013 is 82,292. The next adventure will be filled with traffic congestion relief projects, improving the quality of life of our residents and visitors on a grand scheme, and will be accomplished over the next 5 to 7 years through the carefully designed and prepared plan that you'll see today. I've worked countless hours with Sean Nelson in devising this presentation. However, Sean has done the bulk of the heavy lifting in coordination in conjunction with our finance director, Terry Willoughby, our acting city engineer, Jonathan Smith, our assistant to the city manager, Julie Woodruff, and our administrative analyst, Alan Yoon. It's identified not only the major infrastructure projects that we are all very aware of, and some of which you've mentioned today that you'll see in the handouts that we have provided for you, but we've also looked forward and identified non-general fund revenue dollars, which the city receives on an annual basis, to apply to each project over the next 5-year period. This is truly the first capital improvement project in the history of the city of Menifee. The City Council is to be commended for getting us to this point today. This newly seated council of policy setters is joined together to create a cohesive group and a vision for Menifee's future. That vision led the City Council to identify a known successful leader in Sean Nelson and hire him as an executive consultant to the council. I cannot state how important it is for the council to make that decision. That decision, coupled with the opportunity that the council has given me to lead day-to-day operations of the city and the staff, has provided us with the stability to use our professional talent to bring catalyst change to the young organization. The opportunity and program that you will hear about today is because the right decisions are being made by the right people at the right time for Menifee. The creation of a true capital improvement program and associated budget, which you will review in more detail during our budget study session on June 4th, means that the projects proposed have funding assigned to them from a revenue source outside the general fund, and over the next 5 years, these funds are available to complete the projects. So today we have a Public Works workshop. It's more of a study session where we're going to update the City Council on major infrastructure projects that we have in the city, and hopefully this is
And if I might interject very briefly, just as a matter of decorum for the council, this is a workshop setting, so as staff presents, please feel free to ask questions, okay?
The purpose is to provide an update to the City Council regarding major infrastructure projects and our 5-year capital improvement project budget. There's no new debt to the city's general fund and no use of reserves in this program. The CIP program is fluid and dynamic, meaning things can change from year to year, but the basic essentials of the project and the program are to improve the quality of life. We're going to share economic development benefits. We're going to manage our resources appropriately. We're going to improve our emergency services response times. I'm going to hand it over to Sean Nelson, our executive consultant to the City Council, and he is working in tandem with Jonathan Smith, our acting city engineer, to provide the rest of the presentation for you.
Good afternoon.
I'll handle your clicks.
Okay, well, thank you for that introduction. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the purpose of today's Public Works workshop is for staff to gain consensus from the City Council on the priority and sequencing of major traffic infrastructure projects that are the foundational elements of the City of Menifee's economic future and quality of life. When the City Council hired me as an executive consultant a little over 2 months ago, one of my main responsibilities was to work on strategic planning initiatives that would allow us to effectively maximize the utility of funding and resources available to the city. As a result, we initiated a strategic revenue forecasting process by identifying what we currently have in fund balance and then projecting all of our one-time restricted revenues over a 5-year period from every source that was available to us. First, at the city gas tax, Measure A, city diff fees, and TRIP financing dollars, as well as any regional dollars that were available to us from sources such as TUMF, Menifee Valley Road Bridge and Benefit District dollars, and federal funds, just to name a few. Now, this is significant because many capital projects can take between 3 to 5 to 10 years to construct from the project inception to completion. And it's extremely important for us to understand what we currently have in the bank and what we're going to be receiving over the next 5 years so we can properly plan for a 5-year capital improvement program. And it also establishes a strong planning foundation for every subsequent 5-year period. So once we were able to wrap our arms around all of the revenue that was available to us, then the next step was we wanted to develop an objective criteria in determining how to prioritize the construction of our major infrastructure projects within the city, and we looked at 2 main factors. The first, we looked at the current level of traffic congestion at our major interchanges within the city, and then we also looked at the estimated timeline and how quickly a project could be completed. So when you look at the first criteria, traffic congestion, we all know that we have congestion at some of our major interchanges. We first looked at the Newport interchange. This interchange has 46,000 daily trips and is currently at 130% capacity. which means the traffic trips exceed the roadway capacity by 30%, and it's currently functioning to level service F, which how many of you know that's not good? The Scott interchange has 28,000 daily trips. It's at 156% capacity, which means the daily trips exceed the roadway capacity by 56%, and it's also functioning to level service F. And then finally, the McCall interchange has 29,700 daily trips. It's at 87% capacity, which means there's still an additional 13% capacity, and it's currently functioning at level service D. So after we looked at the traffic congestion, the next criteria is we looked at project delivery. The Newport interchange, that project is ready to begin construction. The Scott interchange is 95% ready for construction with a delivery project could begin in mid-2015. And no work has yet begun on the McCall interchange, but we did identify that McCall is also on the TUMF network, which is good for us, which means it's available. It can be available for future TUMF funding. And we want to make this statement right now. Regardless of the status of any of these interchange projects, as a part of this plan that we're recommending, we understand the importance of all of the interchange projects, and we're recommending to move full speed ahead simultaneously on all of our interchange projects. So with that as kind of a basic foundation, what we're going to do is we're going to provide a brief overview sequentially of each public works project that we're recommending by calendar year, and unless it's otherwise noted, each project is funded with either existing funds that we have or projected funds that we anticipate receiving within our 5-year planning horizon. And as I identify each project, our acting Public Works Director, Jonathan Smith, is going to provide a brief overview of each project and the estimated time frame for completing that project. So with that, in terms of construction projects in calendar year 2013, we propose to move full speed ahead on the Newport Road widening project. This is a project that will add 1 lane in each direction on Newport Road between Antelope and Menifee Road. It's a $3 million project that's funded by city median funds, a paving materials grant, and Measure A and gas tax dollars. This project obviously directly benefits the Newport Road corridor and the Newport interchange, and we can control our own destiny on this project. We can complete this project by the end of this calendar year 2013. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan for a brief overview and construction timeframe for this project.
Thank you, Sean. We all know Newport Road, and we've all been waiting a long time to see improvements in this corridor. This project will take the 2 lanes in each direction, and as Sean mentioned, add another lane in each direction. It'll also add 2 left turn pockets from westbound Newport to southbound Antelope. It's also going to reduce the water-intensive landscaping along the corridor. This project, the preliminary design is completed, the environmental is completed, the plans and specifications are also completed, and we look forward to bidding this in June. This project will prepare us to take full advantage of the future improvements at the interchange of Newport and 215.
Okay, next, construction projects in calendar year 2014. The next project is the Newport interchange.
Excuse me, Mr. Nelson, just for a
Yes.
moment. Councilmember Denver?
Just a quick question. What you're really doing is taking out the median on that side of Newport Road and putting in a road on each side and moving the lines a little bit?
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes. To be able to get this extra lane in each direction, we're taking out part of the median to give us the room to do that. And at the same time, when we improve the median, we'll put in less water-intensive landscaping.
Deputy Mayor Edgerton?
I noticed it says the award to completion August to December 2013. We'd all like to have it done more quickly, but that's fast, and if it can be done in that time, that's great. I'm sure a number of people are going to say, well, is this going to be just another project that's not going to be completed in that time? Our contractors come up and they say, well, we'll be done at this point. Sometimes it takes even a year by the time they finish. How do we protect ourselves in reference to that?
That's a great question. Our team, the design team, is already looking at ways of making sure that this project is done on time. And one of those ways that we will do that is we'll hire a construction manager for this project. This will be his sole responsibility, is to get this project completed within the schedule that the city is looking to get it completed within.
Thank you.
Mr. Denver?
Is anything happening during the day, or is this happening during the night?
Well, that's a good question. Some work will be done at night. We're looking at ways to take advantage of keeping the roadway open during the day to facilitate the number of vehicles that do use that corridor and balance that with night work.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. There's also an additional traffic signal that will be installed, a much awaited traffic signal that the Menifee Lakes community has been waiting for. We're going to add that during this widening project.
That's correct.
Just helping you out there. And also, more than likely, before each one of these construction projects kicks off, we'll be updating the council, and we'll be holding public sessions so that public can come in and see what we're doing, see the construction schedule, and that we can update the council more frequently and closer when each one of these individual projects starts. So take heed, you're not going to just hear this and then not see another thing about the project. We'll make sure that each and every one of these projects comes back for this type of a setting, or we could possibly hold it in one of the elementary schools or middle schools so that more people can attend.
Mr. Furman?
You said we were going to hire a project manager. Could you expound upon that a little bit?
It's a construction manager who has sole experience in constructing roadways. We will interview. I will put out a request for proposals from a select group that I know has experience with this kind of work, and we'll select the best one for this project based on the work that needs to be done out there, which is
His pay comes from where?
his pay comes from the budget
From
of
the
the
budget.
project.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Nope, you clarified that. Just want to make sure everybody knew the budget for the construction manager was paid for out of the actual project and not from the city's general fund.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Will not be a city staff member. It will be a contractor hired specifically for the purpose.
Could you go back to the graphic, the aerial view with the red line? There you go. One of the things that this is absolutely a critical link to this whole process specifically for the interchange project, clearly, as well as the completion of Menifee Road, truth be told. I have a concern about the intersection of Antelope and Newport. As we begin this project, I've gotten a lot of feedback from several of the residents around that area who, for example, would like to see, even if it's on a temporary basis, once this goes out to bid and we start, to maybe have some additional traffic control measures put in place. As an example, from southbound Antelope, right-hand turn onto westbound Newport, right now it would be helpful, I think, if there would be a no right-hand turn on red, no right turn on red at that intersection. And right now, one of the major problems, as I know staff is aware, is that at that intersection, everybody wants to cheat the light. And people get in there, sometimes 2 and 3 vehicles deep, and clog the intersection. Is there a way that we can put keep the intersection clear painting on the pavement, or put in some other type of traffic control mechanisms while we construct? That's a question.
Yes, we can. And I am working with our traffic engineer on exactly those kinds of things to facilitate the current operation of the intersection in that area that you mentioned, as well as looking into how we can facilitate the construction and traffic flow during construction.
All right, Mr. Denver?
Is it fair to say that when this is done, the road will look pretty much the same number of lanes, same number of size as the Dominagoni Parkway coming into it?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, council, for those questions, and staff, your answers. Please proceed, Mr. Nelson.
Okay, thank you. Next, in terms of construction projects to begin in calendar year 2014, of course, the Newport Interchange project. This is a $37 million construction project that's funded with $17 million in city TRIP financing proceeds and $2.9 million in TUMP Central Zone funds. Obviously, this project is extremely important to the Newport Road corridor, as well as the interchange area, and we can begin construction on this project in early 2014. And the County of Riverside has already agreed to make a request for federal funds to receive the full funding for the Newport Interchange project, which is very exciting. We have Juan Perez here from the County Transportation Department. We really appreciate Juan being here and looking forward, Juan, to partner with you as we move forward on these important infrastructure projects that are really going to create a strong foundation for the city of Menifee and for the region as we all move forward together. So thank you for being here. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jonathan for a brief overview of the interchange as well as the construction time frame. And obviously, Mr. Mayor, this is an extremely large, significant project, and there will be a full briefing that will come back to the city council at a subsequent point.
Thank you, Sean. As Sean mentioned, this interchange is 30% over capacity. Everyone who drives that corridor experiences that every day. Has 6 total lanes, which will eventually, after the construction is completed, will be improved to 8 total lanes, 4 through lanes in each direction. There will be a new right, free-flowing right turn lane for the off-ramps, eliminating the left turns that are being made from the bridge right now. Most of the traffic that is stacking up is traffic that is cutting across and trying to get in the left-hand turn lanes and get onto the freeway. Now there's going to be free-flowing right-hand turns onto the freeway. And this project, as Sean mentioned, the preliminary design is completed, the environmental is completed, the plans and specifications are 95% complete. It's anticipated that this project will be bid out in December 2013 with award going early 2014.
Okay, so next, also in terms of construction projects for calendar year 2014.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Nelson. I have a question.
Okay.
Please jump in if you, I mean, I know that we're going to come back and have some more specific things, but because this thing's 136% at capacity now, when we talk about who's going to control the bidding process, is that the county or us?
We are going to work jointly with the county in bidding this project.
So it's our major arterial. It's the most bottlenecked place in the city, obviously by the data. Is there a way that we can put into the bidding process that the lion's share of the construction happens at night, in the evening hours? I mean, I realize it'll add cost, but you know what? When the Northridge earthquake happened and we needed to restore Los Angeles, they worked 24/7 around the clock, and people dealt with the noise. And you know, I think it's something that we're all going to have to live with. So I guess my question is, can those things be built into the bidding process?
Yes, they can, and they are.
Okay.
We are also going to select a construction manager who will be looking out for the city's interests, and the county is working with us to get that RFP out as soon as possible. And that'll also be somebody that'll be a third set of eyes on the plans, taking a look at the best ways of staging the equipment and performing the construction, looking at opportunities to maximize nighttime work, minimize daytime disruption.
All right, thank you. Mr. August?
I think, Jonathan, we talking about this last week, and you might going to mention this later, but in case you're not, I think you mentioned last week that this would be kind of done in 2 phases, where there would be continuous traffic across the freeway, albeit half of that traffic. My question to you regarding Sun City, McCall, the Core and Homeowners Associations, and people down in Ladera, this construction work is going to have a definite impact on that area, causing more through traffic in Sun City, which we already have quite a bit, to tell you the truth. I wonder if any consideration has been given to that, how it's going to impact Sun City and McCall. And also, there are several requests out that I know of. Mr. Reuter's out there and had one about El Rancho and a stop sign, a crosswalk, and a couple of requests on Marietta as well for stop signs and et cetera. Are these types of projects going to continue? Would we want to maybe address some of these if we can afford it prior to the starting of this intersection project? Are we going to kind of help control the traffic, because there's going to be an increase in that area, and that would be one of my concerns? Has any thought been given to that?
That's a great question. Yes, it has. We've looked at how the traffic will circulate through the city once detours are made at night, and occasionally if a detour has to be made during the day for a short period of time. And the improvements that you're talking about on these various streets are things that we're looking at to be prepared for when we're under construction.
Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Mayor Edgerton, and then the city manager.
Well, the mayor's reminded me of the fact that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we'll be hit by an earthquake periodically. We'll always be hit with them, and every now and then we'll be hit with a huge one.
Correct.
This is just a curiosity question within construction and what you anticipate. There are written in, I'm assuming, certain stress levels for earthquakes reaching certain magnitudes, lasting certain periods of time, P levels coming in at certain dimensions, blah, blah, blah.
Very good. Yes, this bridge is designed to the current earthquake standards that have recently been enacted, so it will meet all those expectations for withstanding an earthquake.
So if we get an 8 lasting 6 minutes,
We'll
Don't
have to
answer that question, Jonathan.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Johnson?
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't commend the county staff, Juan Perez and Ann Meyer at RCTC, just for keeping Menifee moving at the forefront of all these major projects, Newport, Scott, even Holland Road, which we'll hear about in a little bit. You know, these people have been sitting at the table for us fighting to keep our infrastructure projects on the front burner while we were still yet before being a city. And now they're collaborating with us, and we're at the table with them, and we're making really good relationships and moving forward, and it's just an exciting time to be here. But I want to make sure that Juan and Juan Perez and Ann Meyer got their just due for keeping us at the table with WRCOG and RCTC. We appreciate that.
Yep, thank you. On to the missing link.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in terms of construction projects, we believe in calendar year 2014, the Menifee Road Missing Link project. This is a $4 million construction project that will be funded by 2 developers on both sides of Menifee Road, who can then receive a TUMF credit from WRCOG. And this allows us then to be able to reprogram $1.85 million in TUMF dollars that were previously allocated to this project on Menifee Road. It'll allow us to reprogram that to another city project. And of course, the benefits of this project is that it's completely developer-driven and constructed by the developer. It creates a connection to an important north-south arterial road within the city, Menifee Road. It keeps $4 million in TUMF funding within the city of Menifee. And as I said, it will allow us to reprogram that $1.85 million to another city project. And with that, Jonathan will provide an overview and construction timeframe.
Thank you, Sean. Excuse me. This road was never completed due to the housing market collapse. Now we have the opportunity to provide incentive to the new developer, the development to the east that went bankrupt originally and that did a large amount of the grading operation for this important connection. This road will add 2 lanes in each direction, and it will be a important north to south arterial road, improving traffic circulation in this part of Menifee. As I mentioned, the development on the east side, we're working with them currently to provide them incentive to move forward with the construction. We hope that it will begin in 2014, and it should take them about 6 months to complete this construction.
Questions?
Yeah, can you go back to the aerial? Sure. Thank you. Mr. Denver.
Mr. Mayor, I just would like, there's so many places in here that I need to do this, but I'm not going to do it over and over. I'm going to do it now. And that is, I'd like to compliment Sean Nelson for the many places in here now in particular where the money was found for these kinds of projects that we never found before. And the millions of dollars that we now have that we did not seem to have before is truly amazing. And while our entire staff can take some credit, Sean Nelson gets most of the credit. And I'm very pleased, and I know we all are, with his work.
Thank you, Mr. Denver. Great comment. Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Yeah, I would add a kudo for that. They kept the council very well informed and without getting involved in revenue. It's an extremely complicated issue. Missing link, when they first mentioned the missing link, I thought we were talking about genetic problems with the city council.
Just you, brother. Just you.
In any event, as I mentioned before, and I think it's a good point to make, and you mentioned yesterday, I think, Jonathan, that a lot of people right there at Menifee and Newport are going to, they're going to be, and all of those people on the east side of the freeway below there are going to making a left turn on Newport to get down to the 215 freeway. Some of those people now are going to go straight up Menifee to McCall to the freeway. I would think that would take some pressure off of Newport.
Yep, that's correct. It's one of our goals for providing the incentive to the developer to get this underway as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's a comment that I wanted to make too, is that in terms of, this is our only, we don't even have a north-south route that completes on the east side of the freeway right now. And once this is done, this will provide a north-south route all the way, actually south of Vista Murrieta High School in Murrieta, all the way up to Nuevo Road initially, and then ultimately it'll complete at the Ramona Expressway. And what's significant about this is what I call low-hanging fruit for us, because once we get this done, those who live in the Oasis community, rather than coming out the main gate and turning right and getting on the 215, as Mr. Edgerton suggested, they can come out their back gate at Aldergate, go north and get on McCall, or go all the way up to 74 to go northward. So that's exciting in that regard, and this will unlock circulation on the east side of town in a great way. Just a technical question: is there any blasting that has to be done still with this project that you're aware of, Jonathan, or is that all done?
To my knowledge, that's all been completed.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, the next construction project, the Bradley Bridge at Salt Creek Channel. We know this is an important project to the community as well. This is an $8 million project that's funded with DIF public facilities and Measure A gas tax revenues. This project will improve traffic circulation that currently it forces traffic to the Newport interchange and to the McCall interchange during weather events. And with this improvement, it'll stop that from occurring, as well as improve overall traffic circulation throughout the city. And with that, Jonathan will provide an overview and construction timeframe.
Thank you, Sean. This road is essentially built in a drainage channel. So at small rain events, it turns into a lake and you can't cross it. So what we're planning to do is to elevate the roadway with the bridge and get the road out of the lake. And currently, we're entering into a preliminary design for this project. We're working on the environmental. That should take about 12 months. And the plans and specifications will take about another 6 after that. And then it'll take us about 3 months to bid it and about a year to complete.
Mr. August? No.
A quick question, Jonathan. Looking at the dates here, this could overlap in some way the Newport interchange process. It's possible that it could happen. There could be some overlay at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you, as far as Bradley goes, do you anticipate or that there will be complete loss of use for Bradley Road going through Salt Creek at any one time, or is there going to be some traffic allowed there during construction, or are you going to try to make that happen? And would that be one of your goals, just to make sure that there is a little flow through that Bradley Road?
Exactly. I'm going to have to sequence these projects to eliminate or to minimize the overlap and impact to each one of them. I never like to close a road off completely, removing the access. So we will work to keep access through the area during construction.
Thank you.
Okay, next, in terms of construction projects for calendar year 2015 or 16 is the Holland Overcrossing. This is a $17 million project that's funded with the balance of TRIP financing proceeds of $2.5 million, as well as Menifee Valley Road Bridge and Benefit District dollars, DIF public facilities, DIF road fees, that reprogram $1.85 million that I just discussed related to TUMP Central Zone dollars, as well as Measure A and gas tax funds. We have this project fully funded, and the Holland Overcrossing, what this project does is it will reduce 13,000 trips per day from Newport Road. And it leverages the city's $37 million investment in the Newport interchange. And also the amazing aspect of the Holland Overcrossing is that no additional improvements will ever have to be made on Newport Road through the build-out of our city with the completion of the Holland Overcrossing. So it's essentially a very big insurance policy for the city in terms of the investments that we're currently making on the Newport Road corridor. And without Holland, an additional lane would have to be added at some point in time in the future. After we widen Newport Road, an additional lane would have to be added in both directions, which would obviously be extremely expensive and cost prohibitive. In addition, the Holland Overcrossing also reduces 7,000 trips per day from Scott Road as well. So you're talking about an infrastructure project that will divert 20,000 trips per day from our two main transportation corridors on the Newport Road corridor and the Scott Road corridor. And with that, Jonathan will provide the overview.
Thank you, Sean. This is another good example of how the county looked out for us. This project was established in right around 2007. And what this will be is a 4-lane overpass, and it'll provide a vital east-west connection for Menifee residents. And as Sean mentioned, it'll reduce the traffic impacts from Newport to Scott. Looking at the aerial here, you can see on the east side, just north of the overpass, the existing apartment complex that's there. That apartment complex was designed to be outside of where this overpass will be constructed. That was done under the county. This project currently is about 65% completed under the preliminary design. The environmental will take about 12 to 18 months to complete, and following the environmental, the plans and specifications will probably take another 12 months. It'll take about 3 to 6 months to get it out to bid and awarded. And we anticipate this will be about an 18-month construction project.
Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Yeah, just, first of all, I wanted to really, again, compliment staff and thanks to the county and everyone who got involved in this. I know this was a really big issue during this last election campaign. Everybody was concerned about it. I know the mayor was, I was. And if it had just been a simple political question, the mayor can speak for himself, but I believe you'd have probably taken the same position I would, and that is that we would have put this project first. But when you, because so that the other construction could follow, and looking at it without understanding the complexity, it looks to a lot of people and myself like that was a logical step to take. But when you look at all of the complexity of the fact that we have a system here and they have to function together and the engineering has to be designed and most importantly the funding has to be provided, staff went at great lengths to get this accelerated as quickly as they can. The fact that they've got it in this list even at this point, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very
Public
amazing.
is going to appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much for staff on that. I was surprised to see that it, when you look at this slide here, the preliminary design work, 65% completed, and 12 to 18 months of environmental and another 12 months for plans and specs, the reality sets in terms of the construction timeline. And so when I do my math from here, it looks like if we were to delay, let me restate that. If we were to make this in front of Newport Road interchange, it would delay things by 2 years and nothing would get done. And so I think, to use the expression that the cow's already left the barn on the Newport Road interchange, it's a good analogy because it's true. There's just no way economically, engineering-wise, that we should disrupt that flow. So to the extent that you can, staff, I think that it would be I'm not speaking for the entire council, and we can talk about it later, but to the extent that this can be accelerated at every phase and incentivized at every phase to use whatever creativity that it's in our disposal to do, I know that you'll do that.
That's a great comment. One thing I did leave out, and we are working to accelerate the design. There is a process through Caltrans for an accelerated project. As long as the improvements are under $3 million within Caltrans right-of-way, they let you go through a shorter process. It doesn't seem shorter, but they say it is. So yes, we are doing that at every opportunity.
I'm glad you mentioned Caltrans. Would this, in your experiences, in anyone's experiences up here from staff, would this be one of those projects where we could have Caltrans provide us with an expediter internally to the Caltrans process to help move things along through all the Caltrans departments? I mean, even if we have to add some money to the project to have our own expediter within the Caltrans organization that we pay for, that's watching out for this project, I think that would be a wise thing to do.
I agree. Our consultant that's working on this project has made contact with such person at Caltrans, and that's one of the things that is helping us to expedite this process.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I just wanted to give kudos to Jonathan Smith. He's one of the gems out there that looked at this project and realized that if we spent less than $3 million in Caltrans right away, we could get that sped up process. So I believe this timeline is actually already an expedited process, and if we could do that suggestion to hire an expediter through Caltrans, I'm not sure how much more time we could shave off it, but I think we could shave a little bit more, but I'm not sure. I'll leave that up to our city engineer who's doing a great job.
All right, thank you very kindly. On to Scott Interchange then.
Yes. So all of the projects, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that we previously described, we have either funding in the bank or funding that we're projecting over the next 5 years. As it relates to the Scott Interchange, we don't currently have secure funding as yet, but we do have a plan. This is a $40 million project that's really contingent on our ability to secure federal STIP funds for this project. And what we've done up to this point is we were able to identify $4 million in county DIF fees that we can apply to this project. And in our meeting with Juan Perez and Patty Romo, there was a $13 million budget set aside for right-of-way costs. And in talking with them, they really felt confident that we could cut that acquisition price in about half. And so if we can save the $6 million in right-of-way and apply $4 million to that, we can reduce that 40 million gap by $10 million. Now next, RCTC is going to be making a call for projects this June in a little over a month for federal STIP dollars. And because of the regional significance of the Scott Road corridor and interchange, and along with the significant local dollars that the city of Menifee is bringing to the table for these regional facilities, we really are being a self-help city with these large regional and secondary TUMP facilities. We're investing $17 million in the Newport interchange, $15 million in the Holland overcrossing, another $4 million in the Scott interchange. That's $36 million that the city of Menifee is bringing to the table to these large regional facilities. And with that in mind, we're going to be making a request to RCTC for federal STIP dollars to help us make as much headway as possible in fully funding the Scott Interchange project. And we had a meeting earlier this month in April with the leaders from the county. Juan and Patty were there, and Mayor from RCTC, as well as Ruth Ann Taylor Berger from WRCOG. And it was agreed by everyone in that room that the Scott Interchange is an excellent candidate for funding because of its regional significance, because of the fact that it's 95% ready to move forward. If we had the funding today, that project could begin in mid-2015. And again, the fact that the city of Menifee is stepping up to the plate. We're not just with our hat in our hand, but we're bringing money, significant money to the table, and that local match, we're looking at the criteria. That local match should be very important to RCTC, and I would submit that the city of Menifee may be bringing as much local dollars to the table as virtually any city in western Riverside County or eastern Riverside County, for that matter, when they consider these projects. So we're very excited about this process. Jonathan is one of the members on the selection committee with the Public Works Directors team. We are going to put a full court press on this process. We know the mayor is on RCTC, Mr. Denver, part of WRCOG, so we know also that our elected officials will be actively involved in this process as well. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jonathan for an overview.
Thank you, Sean. Currently, there's one lane in each direction with a shared turn lane at the Scott Interchange. This is going to be a dramatic improvement. After the improvements, there are going to be 11 total lanes here, including 2 left turn pockets on the northbound 215 and 2 right turn lanes onto southbound 215. Also, the intersection of Antelope will be improved, as well as the intersection at Hahn. And as Sean mentioned, if we had the money, this could probably get done even sooner. But the preliminary design is done, the environmental is completed, and the plans and specifications are 95% done. Right now, it's left to right-of-way acquisition, getting enough land to construct the improvements. That is anticipated to be a 9 to 12-month process to get all the right-of-way that's needed. And then, again, to bid 3 to 6 months. This construction should take about 18 months to complete.
Councilmember Denver?
I notice on the map that Murrieta is 1/4 of the components of that interchange. What a relationship do we have with Murrieta to pay for, be involved with this interchange?
Mr. Denver, we had a conversation with the city of Murrieta about this particular issue, as well as the city of Temecula, because this is really kind of a unique situation in that 3/4 of the interchange is within Menifee and 1/4 is within the city of Murrieta. And one of the things that became clear to us that you have the southwest zone of Tumph, which basically I don't think anybody was necessarily looking at this division here, and then you've got the central zone of Tumph with the same type of situation. So one of the things that we believe we should be actively engaged, not only with the central zone, but with the southwest zone. Because the southwest zone, because 1/4 of this component is within that zone, not only do we want to look to the city of Murrieta, but we also want to look to the southwest zone to help us pay their fair share to fund this project.
Rumor has it that Murrieta has collected funds that were not expended on this interchange. Is there any truth to that rumor?
I don't have any knowledge of that.
We ought to check into that.
Okay.
This is a very expensive interchange, and if you'll notice the loops, it was done poorly, or let's just say differently than we would do it, and the interchange, the loops have to go into Menifee now because Murrieta didn't take the normal precautions that would have normally done an interchange like this. So the costs are, if they were to argue, well, you pay for the part that's in your city, we'll pay for the part that's in ours, then it's mostly in Menifee because of that that they didn't build it properly in their quarter. So I think there's lots of reasons, and I do believe that there's been some money collected from that development and others where they ought to participate in this.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, next, we have one design project that we're also very excited about. We want to move full speed ahead on that this calendar year, 2013, and that's the McCall Interchange Project. And we've identified $750,000 in funding from Tumph Central Zone funds, as well as measuring gas tax dollars to begin the preliminary design phase and environmental clearance through Caltrans. Unfortunately, this is a 2 to 3 year process going through Caltrans to get the design and environmental clearance completed. We also found out that the McCall interchange is on the Tumph network, which is good news for us, which means that we can be eligible for future Tumph funding as well. And we're also going to federalize the project, which means that we can apply for federal STIP funds, other federal dollars, and as well as state funds that are available once the project becomes shelf-ready. And so with that, I'll turn over to Jonathan.
Thank you, Sean. As Sean mentioned, we're going to get started on this project right away. We know how long it takes to get an interchange through the Caltrans process. That's why it's important to get started on the preliminary design and the environmental. The preliminary design should take us about 12 months once we get underway. And as Sean mentioned, to federalize this project, we need to go through certain environmental process. It's going to take us about 2 years to do. The plans and specifications will take approximately 2 years, 24 months to complete after that process. The bid process will take 3 to 9 months, and the award and to completion, we believe that this project can be completed in 18 months.
Mr. August?
We had, as we discussed last week, Jonathan, we did talk about the possibility of Walmart purchasing that property on the corner there of Antelope and McCall. Was that those are the streets we're talking about?
That's correct.
And there's probably several development projects in that area at the same time, and we said that McCall was up to 80% capacity at this time. Now, is that being calculated into all our plans? I just want to know, are we going to run over capacity on McCall possibly? And
That's one of the reasons why we want to get started on the project right now, to head off those possible scenarios that we have right now with Newport.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mr. Denver, then the city manager.
I also, as with Councilman Gregg, I also think that you should relook at those numbers. Something has happened. We've talked about it before. Something's happened on McCall this year, and it is the traffic is backing up now a lot. It may have something to do with the new, I don't know what it really is. I've looked and looked. The new development there on the new apartment projects that are being built. It may have something to do with development down in Heritage Lakes, but that is now backing up for blocks. I think no offense to the way things are done, but if that was done in last year, you're going to find that that's at least at 100% capacity, if not over 100% right now. And I'm just saying, if we go on this time frame, the citizens of Sun City are going to be furious with us when that backs up down the middle of Sun City both directions, for I believe it'll be more than Newport, and I believe it'll be this year. I really think that this one needs to be moved up as fast as we can do. I think it's more important than some overpass that we just discussed about. I think it's a big deal, and I'm not trying to speak for any other council people, but I think those of us who this is in our area really need to work at protecting the seniors and protecting some of those people up there, and this should not be the last thing to be built in Menifee.
Understood. The preliminary design process will give us an opportunity to evaluate the intersection as it is today, and we'll be able to validate where the capacity stands, and we'll use that information to facilitate applying for funding and other monies that will be available to us for this project.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, just a quick direction to staff. Jonathan, if you could look into the Caltrans signalization to see if there's any issues on McCall between Encanto and Bradley. Maybe something tripped during the power outage, but obviously it was well before the power outage. We just want to make sure of that. Secondarily, any developer that would come in that area would be conditioned to make improvements, albeit interim or full-scale improvements to that area, just as a heads up.
Just curious, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Well, just adding on to Councilman Denver's comment, nobody should be deluded about what this is going to do in reference to local traffic. Well, no matter how much effort we make, this is going to be very difficult. Hopefully it's going to be a short time. It is going to be difficult. You got problems with traffic now, you're going to have worse problems, but it's kind of like going to the doctor and having to take a bunch of lousy medicine or some bad surgery. It's better than the alternative, and that's what we're going to be faced with. I can remember I was telling Jonathan just yesterday when I was teaching at the college, it'd take me 10 minutes. I then lived on the west side of the freeway, and it took me 10 minutes to leave my house and get to my class. And then they started fiddling around with Scott Road there and that interchange. And it took me over a half hour, sometimes 40 minutes to get to class. And I wasn't on the council yet, and I remember there would be flagmen out there, and then there'd be a sign. All of this is compliments of some supervisor by the name of Jeff Stone. I hated that guy, you know. So if we get any flagmen out there, Jonathan, as I said, don't put my name on it.
Give you all the credit.
Just a question about rights-of-way acquisition, and I waited for this to come up because it's the same question for Scott Road. I know that the way that these project sequencing is listed, it's a little bit of a misnomer in terms of how it's laid out, because like for Scott Road, the rights-of-way acquisition process is ongoing now.
That's
I mean,
correct.
we're in that process. So when you say, like in reference to Scott Road, that ROW will take from 12 to 18 months, it's already in progress.
Correct.
And so to the extent that it can be done here, I'll just, can you go back to the aerial on McCall interchange for just a second?
Sure.
I'm finding a hard time, where would the rights-of-way need to be acquired here? It looks like there's plenty of, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but the layman in me, when I look at the aerial view here, looks like there's a lot of land that's already there that's Caltrans owns between the off-ramps that it currently exists, working inward to the lane. So I'm having a hard time understanding how much ROW needs to be acquired for this project.
No, that's a great question, and those answers will be answered during the preliminary design.
Exactly.
When we identify our limits of right of way. But yes, you could be right.
That's a good point. This has got to be a 15 or so year old aerial photo, because the Wendy's is not even on here. Or is it? Actually, it is. It's to the right. No, the Wendy's is right here, Tom. This is the off ramp. This is Wendy's over here. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the point is that I just wanted to make a point about the rights of way acquisition. So, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, sir. Just a note on that. I think better than ever before, we're in a position staff-wise to have a city engineer who's well aware of what you just said, and I believe will concurrently look at the right-of-way acquisition while it's under preliminary design and actually be in tune. We're more in tune now with the projects that we have and that are going on. You know, prior to really tonight or 2 months ago, we were looking at everything in a vacuum, and we talked about this before when we talked about the operating budget and how we move forward. Now, with the help of our exec consultant and our finance director and the staff that we have, we're looking at 5 years out on everything. So if we know that we're going to be developing this interchange, I'm hoping that Jonathan's already ahead of you on that question, and he was sandbagging, saying that, you know, he'd have to look at that after the preliminary design, but I have a sneaking suspicion he might already know how much needs to be or very close to.
Well, and I know, and I know that rights of way acquisition can be a sensitive topic when you're dealing with buying land from. So I understand that. So there's some sensitivity. I just wanted to ask that generalized question. Okay, on to the next slide, please.
Okay, well, thank you. So in summary, if you look at the public works construction projects that we have identified funding for over the next 5 years, calendar year 2013, the Newport widening project at $3 million. Calendar year 2014, the Newport interchange project to begin construction, $37 million. We believe in calendar year 2014, the Menifee Road Missing Link project, which is a developer-driven project at $4 million. In calendar year 2014 or 15, the Bradley Bridge project at $8 million. And in calendar year 2015 or 16, the Holland Overcrossing at $17 million. And again, we've identified funding within this 5-year planning horizon of $69 million. Now, before I go to the next slide, I want to make one other comment because this hasn't been said yet. As has been mentioned, there is going to be pain through the next 5 years as we build these projects. But I think there's one thing that we can be excited about. When you look at the circulation element and what this infrastructure is going to do for the future of our city, the city of Menifee has an opportunity to do something that most cities can only dream of, and that's to really have outstanding traffic circulation through the build-out of our city. And so what's exciting to me is that, yes, there's going to be difficulty during this 5-year period, but once we've completed these projects, traffic circulation is going to be one of the outstanding aspects of the city of Menifee, which I know that may be hard to believe, but when you look at the traffic counts and look at what these improvements are going to do, to me, it's very exciting where the city is going in that regard, and so I did want to make that comment as well. Next, with the
Mr. Denver, did you have a question before we proceed?
I do. I just wanted to once again redundantly compliment Sean Nelson and our staff for all this work. We've never seen this before. This is just marvelous that we have this kind of information in front of us. Congratulations to everybody involved. I sure wish number 5 was McCall instead of Holland Road Overcrossing.
I wish I wish Holland Road was number 3.
I was just number 1.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just comment on McCall too, we're going to move full speed ahead on McCall. The problem with McCall is essentially timing, and we're starting a new interchange project. We're going to be dealing with Caltrans, and I hope there's nobody from Caltrans, but Caltrans and quick is an oxymoron. So, you know, that's kind of the hand that we've been dealt. But I do want to commit that we're going to be looking at all of these projects simultaneously, and we're going to be moving them all full speed ahead as absolutely quickly as we possibly can.
Mr. August?
That's just one quick question to you, Sean. Could you just take 1 minute? I think we talked last week about with this type of circulation planning, if it is as successful as we all hope it's going to be, the type of business and quality of life issues that we all talked about during the campaign, it might mean for that. If you could just address that for a second.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I think when you look at the city of Menifee and look at the future of its economic future and quality of life, foundationally, one of those things that are really the pillars of moving the city forward is building these major infrastructure projects. And without these projects, it's going to be very difficult for the city to really get to that next level. With these projects, it's going to prime the city for good quality development, both from a housing standpoint and making sure that we have good housing projects that have the parks and the landscaping and the four-sided architecture, and we don't compromise on those standards to make sure that we bring quality residential development within our city. And once that happens, with this infrastructure, the retail, commercial, office, professional, all of that will follow. So when I look at this, I see this infrastructure is really the foundational element to allow the city of Menifee to move forward in a very positive way.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. August. And Mr. Nelson?
Okay, next, in calendar year 2015 and 16, the Scott Interchange, of course, that $40 million amount that we talked about, we've identified the way to reduce that by $10 million, and then we're going to be working collaboratively with the county as we move forward with this call for projects. We know that there's going to be a lot of competition, but we believe that Menifee deserves to be at the table. We think it's our turn, and with the local dollars that we're bringing, we're going to be aggressively involved in that process. And then finally, from a design standpoint, the McCall interchange, we're going to move full speed ahead on that as well, begin the preliminary design environmental clearance. It's eligible for future TUMF dollars. We're going to federalize the project. Once we get the preliminary design done, we'll be able to wrap our arms around what the components are of the project. And then once that occurs, we're going to continue to aggressively look for funding to build that project as well. And then finally, just some final comments. Rob alluded to this earlier. There's no new debt to the city's general fund, and we're not using any of our $6.5 million in general fund reserves. The plan is to incorporate this public works plan to the city's 5-year capital improvement program. And just to make you all aware, the city council is planning to hold an operating budget and CIP budget workshop on June 4th to further discuss not only the capital improvement program, but the operating budget as well. And finally, I want to thank the city council for allowing me to be a part of this city. I spent 21 years in the city of Temecula and worked as diligently and hard as I could, and I wasn't planning on saying any of this, but when I finally left the city, I was mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. And I was able to take a year off, and you good folks gave me the opportunity to come back and be a part of this city. And I want you to know that this whole process has rejuvenated me, and I'm honored to be a part of your team. And I also want you to know that you have outstanding leadership in this city with our interim city manager, Rob Johnson, Terry Willoughby, who she's been able to work collaboratively with me to find all this funding. Our acting public works director, Jonathan Smith, is passionate and motivated, and he's the right person to get this work done. Julie Woodruff is an amazing asset to our team, and I also want to recognize Alan Yun for developing this PowerPoint presentation. And again, it's a privilege and an honor to work with all of you. And with that, the staff is available to answer any final questions that the council might have.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Deputy Mayor Edgerton?
Yeah, I'm like Councilman Denver, I'm really impressed with what staff has done. I'd like to point something out. I spent some time with Merrill Lynch There would a matter of how do you value companies and how do you try to determine what their value might be in the future. And it is vital. You look at their management. It doesn't make any difference what kind of product they have, service they have, what the competition is. The critical element is how does management function? And I just want to say, with this new council, Mayor Scott Mann has just done a yeoman's job. The first thing he did getting on this council was to make sure that we had a council that worked as a team. We might have differences, but we work as a team. And working as a team, it means you then are integrated with your staff, and that's why, of course, we brought Sean Nelson on. And I just echo the words of the council, what Councilman Denver said earlier. Sean Nelson, Rob, as our interim city manager, they have been fantastic. But the responsibility for whether an organization works or whether it's broke starts at the top. And the top in this city is Mayor Scott Mann. And Scott, I want to say you have done a great job for this city. And part of this is a reflection of your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Edgerton, for those very kind comments. It's a pleasure to be working with a consensus-oriented council, and sometimes it takes somebody has to be a thinker, but you guys are on board, and we're sharing ideas, and we're deciding and debating, and we're doing it in a way that I think is very, very healthy for our city and our residents. Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. In moving forward with our transparency and our ability to connect with our residents and communicate with our community, we went to the ends of the earth to produce Improving Menifee's Traffic Circulation. It's a guide to congestion relief projects. We're going to give you a takeaway when you leave here today. I want to make sure that the council gets a copy of these first before they go out. These are quick informational highlights of what we talked about today. But also what it's going to allow us to do is take this information to the International Council of Shopping Centers, ICSC, the Recon, and we're going to be able to share with developers, builders, people who want to come and bring amenities to our city, who are a little confused at times where Menifee is, what we're doing, how much we're investing of our own dollars into our own city to make improvements. And we really believe that these projects will enable us to capture the amenities that people want here a lot more easily and a lot faster, with traffic circulation being the focus.
This looks like a fantastic document, and this is exactly the kind of thing that I mean, in my travels throughout the city and talking to HOAs and visiting homes and going here and there, this is a great document that we can have to give to people to show what's coming down and when it's going to construct. So this looks like a very well done brochure. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving us the latitude to do that. We will have, on your way out in the lobby, I believe we have staff available there to hand these out to folks.
Thank you. Does that complete your staff report for today?
Yes, sir, it does.
I'd like to extend the courtesy of the floor to the council members if you have any comments. No.
There's some speakers maybe. We're speechless.
All right. Well, I have just a generalized comment then as we wrap up the meeting tonight. This is a workshop, so the public comment period's over. There'll be another opportunity, as staff mentioned, when we bring back the at the budget workshop on June 4th is where we ratify what's been discussed today. The direction to staff that's been given is, first of all, staff, do you need any other direction from us on these matters at this juncture?
No, sir. We are making a presentation, looking for consensus. We saw a lot of head nodding.
Okay.
We took notes on the things that you would want us to look at, and we'll adjust. On June 4th, when we do the operating and CIP budget, you will see actual hard dollars attached to each one of these projects, where the funding sources and revenues are coming from. And remember, we're only funding, or council will be approving 1 year at a time. So it's a 5-year look, but it's 1 year approval each time. So there's flexibility also in the program as you move forward.
Well, that's a perfect segue into my final comment that I wanted to make for the benefit of the audience, is that this is a strategic planning document. You know, none of us, everybody in here has taken a road trip before, You know, you set a goal for yourself and you say, I want to go on a trip. And you pick a date, and then you say, okay, how am I going to pay for it? You know, you take money from your savings, you put money on your credit card, maybe you save a little bit more along the way, maybe you get some money from relatives, or you liquidate some stock, whatever. You know, you plan a road trip for your vacation, and you embark upon a road, and sometimes you go down the freeway, whether it's the 10 or the 40, you're heading east, and maybe there's some road construction that makes you divert off the road and go a different way, and then you have to adjust your plans. At least you have a plan for your vacation, and that's exactly what this is. The city has never had a 5-year capital improvement program before, and that's what this is, and this is an amazing job. So is it safe to say, Mr. Johnson, that as we go through each budget cycle, that this will be reviewed every single year because it's tied to the budget?
Absolutely, and as programs and projects are completed, new programs and projects will be added on the other end of the 5-year spectrum,
So
every single year.
So things like Valley Boulevard and the bridge over Marietta Road Bridge at Salt Creek Channel, maybe even Normandy someday, straightening out Holland Road at the intersection of Marietta by Mr. Furman's place, and those types of things, and other projects in the city they'll come into that window over time as we develop these projects and seek funding.
Yes, and the beauty of it is revenue dollars will be attached to them so that they can be built. So it's not just a laundry list of projects we'd like to see done, which we've done in the past. This is actually projects that we know need to be done, that everyone in this room knows needs to be done, that we've identified actual funding for outside the general fund to make them complete and make us whole.
Well, thank you very much, sir. On behalf of the entire council, I think I can safely say, job well done to each and every one of you. I got goosebumps. And to coin a phrase from Saturday Night Live character, that's high praise, Mr. Johnson. This meeting is adjourned.